Did you know that there is an acronym that is absolutely going to help you to thrive in your new life here in Italy if you plan to move to this country? Nope. Well, listen, it's not official. It's something that I've come up with. But these 5 areas are things that if you get right, you will absolutely lead a happier, healthier, and thriving life here in this country. So let's dive into the I of Italy. What does the I stand for? It stands for interest. Now, interest can be divided into 2 parts. You've got interest that you show as an individual into life here in Italy. And then you have, as a consequence of that, the fact that Italy reveals to you just how interesting a country it actually is. Now, if we're going to focus on the interest that you show, this might sound something that's so completely obvious, but you will be surprised how many people move to this country and they don't show a 100% interest in it. They immerse themselves halfway or a little bit. You know, they'll go to some restaurants, but then their friends and their social circles are fellow expats or people that have moved from the same country that they have. You know, they don't necessarily make an effort with the locals or they don't know how to. You know, you will find that some people live in a particular city but never really know what's happening in that city, what the local events are, what the history and heritage is. It happens more frequently than you may realise. And I think it's just because people move here and they try to keep their lives the same as they have always known their life to be. Except when you move to Italy, things are going to have to change. And it should be a positive step for you because you are embracing life in a new country with new experiences. And as such, you do need to shake things up a bit. Now, I will say that if you can learn to show an interest, a 100% interest in the language, the culture, the food, the people, the history, the heritage, as a result of all of that, Italy is going to reveal to you just what an interesting country it really is. Because even to this day, over 7 years of living in Italy, I can tell you that it still fascinates me how different and diverse each city, town and region of Italy really is. And this includes, even within the south of Italy, how different each region and city can be. And so, you know, it's fascinating to dive deeper into that, the local dialects, the local cuisine, the local traditions. It's a beautiful thing. And you only really understand that depth of Italy when you show a real interest in it. So don't close yourself off here if you plan to move to Italy. Open yourself up to everything. Show an interest in it all. Be that forever curious person that is willing to know everything in order to be more comfortable in their lives and to adapt better and integrate better into the culture here in Italy. If you lead a closed life, as a result, your experiences will be more closed and you won't fully enjoy the experience, in my opinion. You only really enjoy living here when you are open to everything and you're open to learning and you're open to embracing life in the way that it is. And that all starts from showing that interest. Let's move into the T of Italy. The T stands for tenacity. Now, this is something that you must absolutely possess. Do not neglect this because trust me, you will need this in different areas of your everyday life here in Italy, but especially when it comes to bureaucracy. You need to have tenacity when you are dealing with bureaucratic matters in this country. As always, depending on where in the country you are, but you need that perseverance. Now, for me, the tenacity that I displayed happened in Palermo because they did not know how to process my change of residency despite having all of the correct documentation. It took them 6 months when it should have only taken them 40 days. But you see, my tenacity was that I didn't let the matter go. I kept sending PEC email after PEC email. I kept following up. I kept turning up at the residency office in person. I was like that blue bottle fly that gets on your nerves in the room. But you know, it all paid off because at the very end, when they were still fobbing me off and, you know, telling me I've got to go somewhere else when I knew I didn't have to, I said, I want to speak to the manager. I had all my evidence behind me of all the unanswered PEC emails, all of the communication, everything that showed them what I needed to have done. And that very same day, they confirmed my change of residency. And that's it. Be tenacious. But be firm but fair. I have to be honest with you, there is a boundary with this because I kind of lost it at that very end point because it had been 6 months of back and forth and nonsense. But I was really professional with it. Those magic words, I want to speak to a manager, what's your name, did something to their brain and made it work. But you don't have to be aggressive, and I really don't recommend this. I see in expat communities people saying, I'm angry, I was shouting at this government official, I was goodness knows what. But the problem is with that, you get yourself into trouble when it's not really that person's fault half of the time. What you have to remember is that communication in Italy within a whole is pretty useless, particularly between regions. And so as much as people could be a little bit more proactive and think on their feet and actually read the documents that you give them and do a bit of research, it doesn't always happen. But it's not the fact that it's that person's fault necessarily. It's just the way the systems are here, and it's just the culture sometimes of these government offices. So you just have to be tenacious, okay? Build up your evidence, and then at that final point, when it's the final straw and you've had enough, you've got all your evidence behind you, and it just puts you in a much firmer position than if you start off by being really kind of antsy at the very, very beginning, So this is something very, very important, a fundamental aspect of your life that you need to hold on to. Be tenacious, okay? It's one of the best things that will give you the biggest advantage living here in Italy. Now, the A of Italy stands for actuality. This is something that you need to educate yourself on, the actualities of life here in Italy, not the romance. Now, I talk about this so much on my channel because my channel is this: no fantasy, just life in Italy. I tell it to you straight, and I've been telling it to you straight for 4 years now, because there are too many channels, too many accounts that sell you the dream. Oh, those pretty pictures of cobbled streets and Fiat 500s and the Aperol spritz by the sea and those lovely dreamy Amalfi shots. But that's not real life, okay? Like, yes, you will see those things here in Italy, depending on where you are, but you're also not showing the other side of Italy, the rubbish, the chaos, the sadness of many an Italian person, the stress that many Italian people face living in this country, dealing with different matters. It doesn't show you the crime. It doesn't show you the degradation of some cities and towns. Italy has two sides. It's beautiful, but it's also problematic. It's the same as any other country around the world. Educate yourself on it all. Don't just focus on the beauty. Focus on the other side of it as well. Because I promise you, if you get real with the actualities of life here in Italy, you put yourself in the best possible position to thrive in this country. Those people that don't do enough research about the reality of life, they fall at the last hurdle because they are not prepared for just what life here can really bring you. Now, in terms of preparing yourself, you've got my channel, which, by the way, if you're not subscribed, it would mean the world to me if you hit that subscribe button or shared this channel with somebody that you know who potentially wants to move to Italy and could probably benefit from learning about the reality. So this is one way you can do it. But also come in here yourself and actually visiting places and spending time here and trying to live less like a tourist as possible when you are here, so that you can truly understand on a deeper level what it's like to be here, because there's only so much preparation that you can do from your own country. At some point you do have to come here and you do have to get a feeling for yourself what it's really like to live here, because you'll be going into the parts of Italy that perhaps as a tourist you'd never go into, like the residential quarters, for example. And sometimes in a city they can feel very, very different to how the tourist aspects of a city feel. So it's this: educate yourself on the actualities, and I promise you, you will set yourself up for success in this country. Now let's talk about the L of this acronym. The L stands for links. Now I'm talking about connection, so the links that you make with people. This is fundamental to your success in this country because Italy is connection-based. Links mean everything. The connections you have with people will help you in ways that you've probably never experienced in your own country before. A lot of the time, people's referrals and recommendations mean more than anything else, and that's saying something. So if you can start to build your links even before you move here, you stand a much better chance of building a thriving life in this country, because you're going to have support systems in place. You're going to have people that you can get recommendations and referrals from. You're going to feel like you're part of a community. And trust me, wherever you live in this country, that is going to make a fundamental difference to your experience. Now, if you want to get started both before you move here and also if you have just arrived or you are already living here, I'm opening a brand new expat community, the Aperitivo Lounge, in January 2026. I'll put a link up here so you can get your name on the wait list. It's going to be strictly limited numbers only, because I want to make this a really intimate space where we can all support each other in your dream of moving to Italy, educate each other, give you masterclasses, resources, tips, everything that you need to build a life here in Italy. And most importantly of all, like learning from people that actually live in this country and can tell you the reality and not just the fantasy that you might have picked up on the internet. So go get your name on the wait list for that if that's something that interests you, because really I can tell you from firsthand experience, the lack of community that I had at the very beginning when I first moved here hindered my first year to year and a half, absolutely. So don't make the same mistakes as me. Build and focus on your community and your links, and I promise you it will pay dividends in the future. And finally, the why of this acronym Italy stands for yourself. Be yourself. Do not lose yourself. Work on yourself. Lots to talk about here. Be yourself. Don't feel that you have to be somebody you are not when you move to Italy. Don't feel that you have to bow down to the pressure of other people who tell you that you have to speak fluent Italian before you move here, who tell you that you have to do things a particular way when you live here. Be yourself. Honor yourself. Honor your own skill sets and what you're good at and your pace and your learning style, whatever aspect of life we're talking about. Be yourself. Don't try to be a carbon copy of somebody else. It annoys me so much when language providers will advertise that you can learn a language, Italian, whatever it may be, in X number of days, weeks, months. It's just a load of marketing nonsense, because language learning is such a personal experience that you cannot possibly give that blanket guarantee to every single person. And so you must move here with the level of Italian that you feel comfortable with. I always say move with an amount of Italian that you can converse in everyday situations, and then continue your learning when you're living here. I've never once said on this channel that you should be 100% fluent, because let's be honest, first of all, what is fluent? What is the definition? Is it a certification? What do you consider to be fluent? But also secondly, like, to arrive at that point can take many people a very, very long time, in which all of that time you are wasting because you're not living here in Italy, actually learning through your experience. You are back in your country, still dreaming of the move. Move with that level of Italian that you can converse in everyday situations, and build upon it and improve upon it when you are living here. Biggest piece of advice I could ever give to you. The second thing about yourself then is that you have to work on yourself. This is so true, because living here in Italy will change you. It will teach you lessons, but you've got to be open to that. People come here and like, I didn't need to change when I moved here. I'm very happy for you, but it's a shame in a way that you didn't, because I look back to who I was when I moved here in 2018, and I'm like, I'm very glad I'm not that person anymore. Like, I'm so much happier within myself now than I was back then. And, you know, I've learned so much about myself, improved myself, worked on those aspects of myself that were not good. Like, you know, all of this comes from throwing yourself into the experience of life here in Italy. So why wouldn't you want to change? Why wouldn't you want to work on yourself? It's a beautiful thing. Italy should shape you. It shouldn't take away your core essence and character, absolutely, but it shapes you. It should mold you into the best version of yourself. And it can do that if you're willing to learn the lessons and you're willing to really be vulnerable with yourself in the process. You've also got to remember not to lose yourself. It's so easy sometimes when you're throwing yourself into life here, particularly if you do it with 100% of yourself, that you forget who you really are. You forget what lights you up. You forget about your personality because you think you need to be another person in order to live here in Italy. It's not true. Do not lose yourself. I lost myself in my misguided attempt at trying to fit into life here until I realized that I'm never ever going to be anybody but me. So I need to embrace who I am, where I come from, my history, my culture, and not try to be somebody I'm not in order to fit in or be liked liked by other people. And that's the same for you. You're always going to be different. You're always going to be the stranieri, which means foreigner. So embrace that, you know, be proud of your roots, be proud of your differences, be proud of your culture as much as you are of the culture here in Italy, and just be authentically happy with yourself. It's fundamental that you don't forget the yourself part when you move here to Italy, because those are 3 very important areas contained within this that can help you to lead a much happier life. So there you have it. This is the acronym Italy. Interest, tenacity, actuality, links, and yourself. 5 key areas that, if you can remember them and apply them to your experience, are going to help you to have a wonderful life in this country. And if you've enjoyed this video, this here is the one that I think you should watch next. I will see you in the next video.